I found myself in Portugal over Christmas break and decided to go check in with our friends over at Ratrig. They put together some really nice industrial style machines. So let's get right into the tour and see what's going on down in Faro, Portugal. Okay, welcome everyone. We're here at Ratrig. We decided to come out here just because I was in the neighborhood and thought, you know what, let's check out some 3D printing stuff. We're here with Sonat. He's the...
Very nice to meet you.
What is your position in Ratrig?
Kind of marketing manager, but one of the owners as well, so I kind of wear many hats around here. Lots of stuff going on here. We have some machines that we're prototyping. v-chonk here.
I actually am not too familiar with this one.
So this is just a fun open source project that we published, mostly composed of 3D printed parts. And the idea is to have something that you can build yourself with a small kit that doesn't require a huge investment. Maybe you can scavenge the electronics from an old printer that you have at home.
Okay.
And you can build this.
Yeah, one of the things that I really like about your designs in general, which is kind of like a recurring theme that we'll touch on a little bit more throughout the tour, is your use of oversized fasteners, because it means you have to put less things together.
Yes, we have definitely learned in the first few iterations of our machines that if you have a very long bill of materials, you're going to run into problems when you try to scale production, because there's always one component that is going to be the unluckiest of the bunch and is going to end up bottlenecking your ability to produce machines. So if you reduce the size of that bill of materials, it's going to keep things a bit more under control, because obviously stock management of all of the parts needed for all the products is a quite complicated problem to manage.
I just got an idea. Seeing those short, flat printers makes me think you could just take this one and just stretch it out.
I mean, this machine was not really designed to scale up. It's obviously a playful design. It's not supposed to be like a production workhorse or anything like that. It's more of a proof of concept. But if you go for a VCore, you could definitely scale the Z height, and there's customers that do that.
Okay.
We actually customize height, and it's something that is relatively easy for us to do, for sure. We have a few machines that we use in-house to do local services of printed parts. This is done mostly for indoor signage. These ones are a bit special because they're shorter, as you can see. They don't need to be enclosed, so the design is a bit more stripped down because we're only printing on patch E on these ones. This is one example of the indoor signage that we can do here in-house. We normally do it as a service for other companies, but we also use it here.
Okay.
But it's not a core part of our business at all at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't want to flood your inbox with too many sign requests.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's this?
So this is the Ratrig Mill. This is currently going under our first beta round. So we have about 50 users that already have the mill on their hands and are currently building it. We are offering the mill in 2 electronic configurations. There's a more basic configuration with a simple router. Then there's the heavy-duty version, which is the one we see here, which has a proper water-cooled spindle with a VFD. So here we have the advanced electronics package. We're also prototyping this enclosure. So here we have the Disrupt Engineering machines. These are the first concept units we took to Formnext. This is a new brand of 3D printers that we're launching next year in 2025. And it's going to be our professional brand. So for a long time, we've specialized in providing do-it-yourself kits, but we've started noticing that more and more professionals are going through the do-it-yourself route. Not necessarily because it's their preference, but
Right.
it's because the only way they can access our kits. So we decided, well, why don't we just repackage our concept into something targeted to the professional, and that comes as a pre-built unit. And that's what we have here. These are basically polished VCore 4s and uses higher grade components across the board to make for workhorse machines that are designed to work 24/7, basically.
Yeah, and I talked with one of your engineers. I thought initially this was just going to be, a VCore 4 with some panels thrown on the side. But actually on the inside, there's a lot of differences that you've made.
For sure. So basically, one of the most important differences is we got rid of all the plastic and everything inside it is made of metal. And then the grade of the components is of a much higher grade, like the extruder, the hot end, frame elements, the kinematic elements. Everything we went for top of grade components to make the machine more durable and more adapted to something that is designed to work 24/7, basically.
These panels mean you can reduce fastener count and make it a little bit easier to assemble as well?
Definitely. So many of the optimizations we did on this machine weren't actually designed for the user's benefit, but for our own production and assembly benefit. If we're trying to scale the assembly of these machines, we need to make them easy enough to assemble for us to be able to do it at scale. So we really worked on making a design that is easy to assemble, basically.
This one back here was like the prototype.
Yes,
so
that's the old version of the disrupt machines. Here you can already see one of the interesting things we've done, which is having one single plate for the gantry. This makes it much easier to make sure that everything is aligned. Basically, both the gantry and the base plate work as self-alignment tools for the assembly itself, if that makes sense.
it makes total sense to me. When I've designed things, you know, you always have to pay attention to exactly how everything's going to sit once you tighten the bolts down. Usually there's a lot of manual assembly, like you have to get the square out and make sure everything's at 90 degrees.
Yeah.
I really like these oversized bolts here. These are like truck-sized bolts.
At Ratrig, we always do it heavy duty. It's always overkill when it comes to rigidity, for sure.
It's better, in my opinion, to do 2 big bolts and tighten those up and be done with it, instead of having like 12 small bolts.
And this is actually a machine from our farm that is probably brought here for servicing, possibly to swap some components. These machines are constantly operating, so from time to time we need to do a little bit of maintenance on them.
Okay, and you can tell it's a farm machine because, like, what's giving it away?
It's just the way we enclosed it. Our farm machines ended up not being really VCore 3 and not really VCore 4. It's kind of a hybrid in between the two. Initially, they were all VCore 3, but we were only printing on PETG. Our customers were asking us to print on something more heat resistant. We created an enclosure for our own farm, and that's how they are very easy to spot, because there's no other machines out there that look exactly like this.
And in this one, this is an IDEX.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a big deal with the VCore 4, is that you
For sure.
kind of got almost a turnkey solution for IDEX.
Well, that's definitely one of the selling points, is that we made it really easy to calibrate. Obviously, IDEX is normally a bit of a pain in the butt when it comes to calibrating the offsets, both in X and Y and even in Z. So this system does everything pretty much automatically. It uses a camera module at the back that analyzes the position of the nozzles, allows you to very visually, with a graphic interface, align the nozzles, and that takes care of the X and Y alignments. Yep. And then it has a switch at the back that calibrates for Z. But also something that is very interesting about this design is that it's a successive upgrade path. So you can start with a simple coreXY design, then you have an intermediate upgrade to a hybrid performance that adds those 2 motors at the back, and these drive the Y-axis. The Y-axis is normally the bottleneck of performance on a coreXY design.
Right, because the X just has to move the print head, but the Y has to move everything.
Exactly. So the hybrid gives a little boost to the Y-axis, and it works as a performance upgrade that allows you to go faster, higher accelerations, and get more precision, while the IDEX is going to be built on top of the hybrid. So it's kind of a progressive upgrade path. We're pretty proud of the experience.
Yeah. So one thing I'm noticing is there's 4 motors for 2 IDEX heads. Oh yeah, this is complicated. I don't get it. We'll come back to this.
Yeah, better.
Because it's not really coreXY, but the first version is coreXY.
Yeah.
And then when you switch it to this, it becomes like a slightly different variation.
I think so. Obviously, this is a prototyping room, so over time, we'll have new things coming here. We're going to be assembling new iterations of our designs. And of course, we're going to be assembling machines for customers. So everything keeps flowing around here.
One thing I also want to appreciate here is, I mentioned that T-slot is kind of like a way of life for you guys. But if you just look around at all the tables,
everything is made
here
with extrusion.
It's all, this T-slot extrusion with the joints. So I think that just kind of builds a lot of in-house expertise of how to get the most out of your T-slot.
Definitely, definitely. We use it for absolutely everything. Sometimes I'm even blind to it because it's everywhere. But like, we're going to go to the office right now and you will see that even the desks are all made with T-slots. You use it for everything around here, like racks and even in the bathroom. They're everywhere. Let's go through here.
All right.
This is where we have the product development team, the technical support, the documentation team, and the marketing team as well. Right next to it, we have the operational office.
I'll try to keep it quiet in here because we got a lot of people working. But yeah, T-slot tables are pretty interesting. You've got different variations of the T-slot table too.
Yeah,
they're
we
all...
kept iterating over time as we built more and more. We kept changing the design.
Yeah, I almost thought this was a T-slot chair, but not quite yet.
One day.
We'll get the T-slot chair later.
So yeah, this is our main storage room. Once again, we can see many examples of how we use the T-slots for all types of little accessories to hold the things we need on each structure. But yeah, this room is where we have every part that we stock, and also the boxes with the kits themselves. We call that section of the facilities the factory, and this one would be the picking zone. So this is where we have everything ready to pick from the shelves and ship to customers. This is a bit messy right now because we're doing inventory. This would be VCore 4s that were already picked. So these are orders for customers. Each shelf on these trolleys corresponds to one order of one VCore, and they are all being picked, and then they are going to move from picking to the packing area that is already over here, create the weigh bills, and this is where we're doing all of the packing.
So in the US, we don't use the term weigh bills very much, but I noticed that I get a lot of messages about weigh bills when...
What do you use?
I guess like shipping label.
Shipping label, okay.
Is that it?
That's the name that DHL calls them, so that's what we call them.
Makes sense. All right, and this is like the main extrusion storage area?
This is like the raw material that makes up almost every single thing that we built in-house, be it a product or something for our own use. We have them in something like a 5-meter length here. We get the raw material, we cut it to length, and then we group it to form the kit. So each kit needs different profiles at different lengths with different types of machining, threading, tapping, any type of customization. We use this cutting station to cut them to length. And after cutting, we can do some machining. There's like that big machine for threading the profiles, for example. We have this large arm that allows you to thread the profiles over here and create threads.
One quick question. So usually when I see a threading machine, it's like vertical.
Okay.
And this one's sideways.
Yeah.
What's the reason behind that? Is it just so you don't, like if you have a really long one, you don't have to
I guess we have to do it to a lot of them, so we actually clamp them over there, and then someone is going to be threading each hole, as you can see here.
Yeah.
And this is how we put them together. We do it like this, possibly because of the varying lengths, it makes it a bit more easy.
And you're telling me your extrusions you actually get locally here in Portugal?
Yes, they are manufactured at a factory in the north of the country. The molds for the T-slot are owned by us, but they are stored at the factory, and they extrude aluminium just for us.
So when you say the north of the country, that's like anywhere that isn't here, because we're like at the southern tip of Portugal,
yes,
pretty
that's
much.
correct. Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, one quick question I had about this. Since you're having these manufactured, like custom orders for yourself, I was wondering if you're considering doing like a custom, like moving away from this kind of standard shape and doing like a custom rat rig type extrusion.
We have considered it. We haven't moved in that direction just yet, but it's something that is perfectly possible to happen sometime in the future. But we've always tried to adhere to standards, also to make the machines easier to service by our customers. Because this way you can get off-the-shelf components. We're not trying to lock in anyone into our system. We're actually trying to do the opposite of that. We want our system to be as open as possible so that people can modify it, upgrade it. They don't need to rely on the supplier in any way. So it has been kind of our ethos to try to make them the products as standard as possible, basically.
Okay, yeah, that's actually a pretty good reason to stick with the established standards. It's like Apple coming out with a new charging port every 5 years until
that's what we don't want to do for sure.
Okay.
We don't want to lock customers in.
The industry needs like a standard X-axis extrusion.
I agree, yes.
Because the current T-slot isn't really super optimized for it.
For sure. We should have something lighter. So all of these are pre-packed. beds for the VCore, pre-packed kits for other products that we already know they're going to sell. So instead of only producing them after they're sold, we're already getting ready for the sales and putting them on the shelves.
Okay.
And here we have our Stronghold Pro, an in-house Stronghold Pro. So this is also a kit that we sell. So maybe some of your users are not aware of this. We don't do just 3D printers, we also do CNC machines.
On your website, when I was checking things out, I saw camera sliders a while back.
That's true. That's how it all started with the videography equipment. It kept evolving over time. At some point we started developing 3D printer kits, and because CNC technology is kind of a sister technology, we thought, okay, maybe some of the lessons that we already learned from 3D printers we can already apply to develop CNC machines. Of course, the concept is a bit more different because these machines are subjected to much higher torques and forces. But yeah, we've been developing this product line for a few years now. This is our large format CNC machine, which is called the Stronghold Pro. On the other side, you saw the Ratrig Mill, which is our most recent addition to our CNC catalog, and it's going to be a very small format machine.
And I really like this side plate. It looks like something I would design. You just, you know, take a big chunk of metal, drill a couple holes in it, and make it as easy as possible to assemble. Like,
for sure.
Putting that together and servicing something like this is going to be so much easier than if you have bolts in all different directions and a bunch of tiny bolts and big bolts. You know, it makes it easy.
We learned a lot from the previous generation of our CNC machines. We had another lineup before this one, which was the Killer Bee. And we really realized that we needed to simplify the design for reasons like the ones you mentioned.
Yeah.
So the Stronghold already inherited all of those lessons learned from the Killer Bee to make a design that is simpler to assembly, simpler to service, and much easier to align. And it also makes us so capable in terms of our own in-house manufacturing capabilities, because now you have 3D printing to quickly prototype parts, and if you need some plates, you can prototype them here at the Stronghold Pro.
Yeah.
And we have the profile extrusion. This means that you can draw something today, and tomorrow you probably have almost everything in-house ready to just prototype it. And this makes us be very fast in our development cycles, because we can test ideas and put them into a prototype super quickly. So it really helps to have this modular platform and these two sister technologies to create parts for us.
What about lasers?
We already had a laser kit a few years ago. It wasn't ours, it was the Acro laser kit from Open Builds. And as you say, it's a very similar technology, and we could easily adapt what we already have to create something like that.
What's up next?
Okay, this is just a corridor with toilets and stuff.
Yeah.
Not very interesting.
Except for the T-slot fasteners in the bathroom. But it's bad manners to bring a camera in the bathrooms.
Sure. Oh, here's another example. I mean, it's not functional right now, but once COVID hit and we had to use the alcohol in gel, yeah, we just built this. They had a little pedal.
Oh, nice.
For you to, you know.
Yeah.
You don't need to buy a structure if you can build one.
This is the only machine with Delrin wheels in the factory. So you had to take apart an Ender 3 to get those.
We actually have tons and tons of wheels.
Oh, from the slider times?
From the slider times, and our first 3D printers were all wheel-based.
Okay.
And we still have quite a lot of stock in-house, even though it's not something we buy anymore. Here we're going to the factory itself. So this is the part of the facilities that we call the factory. Possibly this is the ex libris of the house, which is our print farm. Unfortunately, right now, it's not as an impressive site as it normally is, because we're about to close for the Christmas holidays, and all the machines are stopped. It's much more interesting when every one of them are printing parts.
I told Sanat I was visiting for Christmas, and he's making everyone work holiday overtime. So sorry, everyone, for that.
We're actually doing inventory. So we're going to be here anyway.
So these are all like a shorter variety.
They have been built to be a bit shorter because we don't use all of the height. And they're also kind of a hybrid machine that is not really a VCore 3 and not really a VCore 4. It's something in between, as I was telling you earlier. We had to convert the machines in the farm to be enclosable.
So again, you know, I got to point this out whenever I see it. We've got more T-slot. Got these, this whole rack system is made out of T-slot. and you've got those 4-meter lengths, so you can make giant shelves like this. It might not be the most cost-effective thing in the world, or is it? Like when
I mean, for us it is, because our cost is a bit lower, and we also get to reutilize a lot of profiles that would be wasted otherwise, because sometimes we have to discard them because they have scratches, they're no longer in condition to be used for a customer. So it's also a way of reutilizing the material we have.
Yeah, that's great.
It may not be the most cost-effective solution for if you have something standard off the shelf you could buy, but for many situations you actually don't have anything off the shelf, you would have to build it custom anyway, and for us it's always going to be the most cost-effective solution for sure.
You just happen to have a bunch of great building materials laying around, so might as well use them. If you decided to expand this, you can just attach more and build it up another level or whatever you need to do. So what parts do you 3D print for your kits?
So these days it's mostly VCore 4 parts. VCore 4 still has some printed parts. And these machines are basically 24/7 printing parts. It's often a production bottleneck, even with 40 machines operating 24/7. We still need to produce a lot of parts because it's a lot of kits that we're shipping at the moment. These are the shelves where we're actually preparing the kits themselves. Of course, kits are made of different bags of components. They need to be counted, they need to be bagged, they need to be labeled. And this room next to us is where all of that is done. Eventually, all of this is going to be picked into a larger bag that is going to compose the main kit.
Okay, and then over here, are you going to put these in bags too, so like this?
Yes, exactly. So these are the printed parts. Obviously, here on the shelves, we still have all of the parts separated by type, but in order to create kits, we're going to, pick a few from each and bag them to create a kit for the VCore 4. This is another supporting office. This is the main factory, so this is where we're going to be picking all the parts to compose the kit. We're going to be cutting wires to length, for example. This is a wire cutting machine that we're going to use to make all of our wiring kits, to make the kit as easy to assemble as possible. And
then, I guess you don't need that much room to do your assembly because most of the kits are built like by the customers at the end of the day.
Exactly. It's not really assembly what we do here. It's just picking components to create the kits. The kits ship completely disassembled.
Fortunately, by reducing part count and fastener count, it's not as big of a deal to put these together, but it still does take some time.
True. So here is our studio from YouTube. So this is where we do our content for YouTube. I don't know if you've ever seen Ratrig TV.
Oh yeah, I've seen a couple of videos, and this is a lot nicer than my studio.
Yeah.
And about 4 times bigger, so I make do with a little bit of space. Okay, so we've got some filament in here and some of these little guys.
This was actually a competition that we had a couple of months ago to try to find out the mascot for our brand of filament, which we call Punkfil. So all of these are submissions from users, and eventually this was the winning submission.
I was looking at it. I like. Well,
this is actually an iteration. So this was the first version, and then we felt, okay, this looks a bit more like a mouse. It's supposed to be a rat and not a mouse. Can we adjust the design a little bit to make it look more like a rat? And this is the final winning design. We're still on the hunt for a name for it, so we currently have a new competition to find a name for the mascot.
Okay, yeah, it looks like a punk rock mouse. I mean, sorry, a rat.
Rat, exactly, not a mouse. Yeah. And this is supposed to represent the Punkfil brand, which is our own brand of filament. We have a few variations of the filament here in our signature colors. We're not trying to have a super diverse catalog of colors. It's not our core business to supply filament, but we want to have some, interesting colors that stand out a bit and are not equal to what everyone else is supplying. Of course, our own brand colors, but also some more interesting colors that are a bit outside of what is normally found.
But you got to have the commodity colors, your white, red, blue.
Oh, sure. Sure. We need to add those, but at the moment it has been mostly about black, green, and a few other colors. The studio itself is another example. Everything is built out of T-slot again. Everything is made of T-slot. Even this is something that you can hang a camera from top to bottom. again, T-slot. The sign is 3D printed.
Oh, nice.
So when you take a close look at it, you will see that almost everything in this studio was built in-house with our own stuff, which is a regular pattern around here.
Yeah, this sign's actually really nice. I don't know if we can get a close-up of it, but it's like black with a white backlighting with LEDs, and then you hid the cable somewhere. I want to give a thanks to Sanat and Cruz for showing me around the factory, and also I want to thank the media team because they lent me some cameramen. I didn't have to carry the camera or do any of the filming as I walked through the factory, and they did a great job getting all this footage today. And let me know if you want me to do any future Ratrig videos, or if you want to tour any other factories around the world. Also, I've left a link to their website in the video description. You can go on there and check out all their current offerings. And I'm actually pretty surprised at how affordable these machines are while also being manufactured in the EU. Go ahead and give me a like, a subscribe, and a share if you like this video, and I'll see you in the next episode.